Hey, what's up, everybody? Looking at Bitcoin here on the 4-day chart, we can see the price respecting the logarithmic growth curves. So for me, right, obviously it would be the top upper bound where we would want to target and the lower bound where we'd want to accumulate. I mean, that's just the general idea. If I put in the mean line, it's a little subjective on how you put it, but you could see we're actually resting on support here in this middle line, right? So the target would be between 100K and say 130K according to this upper bound there. So do I think that's where it's heading? I mean, I think in the general vicinity of that, I'm still in the camp of about like 106, 110, possibly 120. But it's going to have to prove itself to me. And I think, once we start getting more wave structure on the way up, it's going to look a lot better as far as getting more accurate targets, right? Because, the whole idea here is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, right? So once we get that first wave, the second wave, the third wave, you're going to get better, more accurate targets as we go up. So I'm going to give you the bullish idea and the bearish idea. I've never given this bearish idea yet because I was kind of holding on a little bit towards it towards the end of this month. But you can see we got 9 days left of the monthly chart. This is going to be the first monthly candle close officially that has closed higher than its previous candle, which is very important, right? We're officially getting a higher close. Now, it's still not over yet, right? We still got 9 days. A lot can happen in 9 days. But it right now looks like a very nice looking bullish style hammer candle. Nice wick on the bottom, closing above not only this candle here, right, but you also are closing above this candle here, and potentially we can close above this candle here, right, which means we only have one more monthly close until all-time high, right? So we'll see how that plays out. But essentially what we have is a bull flag, right? We have a bull flag in here and we're breaking out of it. You can see right there. So as long as the monthly candle in 9 days closes above, it's going to mean more upside potentially. Remember, this is not financial advice. It could be totally wrong. We'll see. But probability wise, that's kind of how I'm leaning. Now, if you want to know a bearish idea, right, here's a bearish idea for you. So instead of the traditional way to looking at it, right, on the smaller time frames, which is, for example, we have 3 down, we have 3 up, we have 5 down, A, B, C, and then we have a 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, and then go, right? Something like that. Now, that's the bullish idea, right? And that's kind of where I'm leaning at. Unless we start breaking back below this middle line here, right? And not only that, but also breaking below the bull market support band, which is higher, by the way. So as long as we're above those two, the bull market support band, this middle line here, basically above 60K, I would say. As long as we're above that, I say the bullish idea is fully intact. Now, if it is if it is going to be bearish, then what would be the count? Well, I've already given one idea, which is this one right here, but it's gotten too big. I'm going to show you a brand new count right now. But before I do that, here it is, the previous one. So we have 3 down, we have 3 up, and then we have 1, right? And then we have 2, 3. So 1, 2, 3. So 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. So W, X, Y, go, right? So that's basically the bearish idea, right? Now, if you take all that off and you go to the weekly chart, it's a little bit different, but basically kind of the same. So what we have here is actually, there we go. So what we have here is we have 1, 2, 3. Fair enough. And then we have 1, 2, 3. Fair enough. And then you're either going to get 3 or 5 after that. So you have 3 down, you have 3 up. So you can either get 5 down or 3 down. So we'll just say 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Break the low, and then you go to outer space, right? So this whole thing would be a bigger 3-wave move. And let me actually put it like this here so we can see it better. Okay, so we have our wave 1, our wave 2, our wave 3, and our wave 4, remember, it consists of, there's your 3 down, and then here's 3 up, and then you get 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 down. And then you kind of build a little bit of a base here, right? And then you kind of get, maybe you get 5 waves up, right? And you get a little bit of a pullback, right? Wave 1, wave 2, and then you really start to accelerate to the upside here. Basically getting 5 waves up. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. So it looks something like that. Now, I don't think it's going to look exactly like that, and don't disregard the time. I think it's going to probably be a lot faster than that, but that's kind of what we're looking at here. And basically what that is a bigger 3-wave move, right? So you have 3 here. It's very small though. This is much bigger, right? And that kind of, we want it to be in the same degree as this wave, but there are rules of alternation, meaning you can have a small wave but also a bigger wave, right? And there, in some cases, so as long as it has its corrective structure intact, right, that 3-wave-ish move, then you're still in that that count. So for me, I'm looking at, again, 100 plus K, right? So at the end of the day, what is it going to be, right? Are we going to have that 5 waves down? So basically what it comes down to, let me take everything off the screen, is number 1, are we breaking out right now? Which we did. We have a bullish engulfing weekly candle above the downward resistance line. We back tested the bull market support band. We held it. We broke above, and now we're sort of consolidating back at the local highs, right? So if that's the case, then we should see higher moves, right? But before we do that, we could see a little bit of a bull flag in here, right? Because back when we were over here, we want to get up, we want to get back in this area, and then we want to flag out and then go. So that's still my main idea. But here's the thing. If we start breaking back below this area in here, below the bull market support band, below 60, 61K, then we're going to talk about that other idea, which is 3, 3, 5, or 3. So something like that, and then go. So this could be a bull trap. I'm not saying it's a bull trap. I'm saying if it is going to be a bull trap, this is where we should be trapped, right here, right? So we'll find out. We'll see what happens. So anyways, I'm going to get into the small time frames just in a second. Yesterday, I had a theory that they're going to delay the election, because remember, I've been talking about election chaos for a while now, and I believe it's coming. There's going to be some type of chaos. I don't know what exactly it is. Yesterday was my theory number 1, which is not necessarily the main theory, but basically them swapping out Kamala last second. I know that sounds ludicrous. I know that sounds insane. I know that sounds crazy. I know that sounds tinfoil hat. What are you talking about? Nuts. I know. I'm right there with you, man. I get it. But the thing is if you believe we have a deep state trying to, keep their power, then you have to understand, how would they try to do that? Well, they would need to try to delay the election, right? So if they try to delay it, how could they do that? Well, number one, they can swap Kamala out. And the way that would delay is because her name's already on all the ballots. People would have to, like, for example, if somebody voted for Kamala and then they put somebody else in there and then they say, well, wait a minute, I don't want to vote for that person. I got to change my vote. And then they have to send the ballot back. They have to go to court, right? They have to legally get her name off. They have to put someone else's name on. They have to resend the ballots, right? It's going to take a lot of time. And that's what they want. That's the strategy, because they know they can't win with her, right? So that's idea number one. I'm not saying that's going to happen. That's just a theory, right? A conspiracy theory, right? The other idea, now this one I haven't talked about. This one's much more probable. You ready? This idea involves Trump. Okay, so Trump, in my opinion, and I don't like talking about politics, but we have to, and it's not even really politics. I'm talking about the election in regards to the price, right? I don't care about the election per se. I don't care about politics per se. I care about putting food on my family's table, and this is what I do for a living as far as price. And if the election is going to have an influence on price as far as who knows what, then we have to talk about what that could potentially be, right? Nobody else likes to talk about that. They don't want to go down that road, right? They just want to stick to the chart. And I get it, and trust me, I understand. But, we have to look a little bit wider. We have to a wider lens on this. So the other thing that they could try to do is, for example, Trump is winning in the polls, but they want you to believe that it's a close race. The reason why they're doing that is because they want people to psychologically believe that, oh, it's a close race, so that when it's sort of tied, like let's say it's election day and the polls are tied and, the states are, counting their ballots, then what happens? Then a cyber attack happens. Boom! And then the news comes on, breaking news, we have election interference. And then all of a sudden, a couple hours later, Trump is winning by a lot. And then they say, well, wait a minute, it was tied this whole time. It was tied. It was tied the whole time. And now all of a sudden, Trump is winning after this cyber attack that the intelligence agencies, because remember, the intelligence agencies really control everything. Right? That's where the fake news gets their 4 a.m. drops from the intelligence agencies, right? And by the way, the intelligence agencies, they want to get rid of Trump because, look what they did to him over the last 8 years, right? So they're going to come out and they're going to say that Russia or this country or whatever or whoever interfered in our election. And now all of a sudden Trump won, right? When the whole thing was when they were tied, now he's winning by a lot. This is just a theory, so just bear with me. And then the media is going to be like, okay, well now he can't be president anymore. He can't win. No, because they cheated, because there was election interference. And I think Trump wanted that all along so that they can look at the elections. Look at 2020, look at 2016, look at 2018, right? Look at 2022. All the elections, we need to have a forensic analysis on all of them because they've been cheating for a long, long time, right? That's just, presidents are selected. They're not elected. Election is kind of the illusion of choice. Now, how did Trump win the first time? Well, I think they underestimated how powerful people would come out and vote, right? So they had to kind of stick with it. So all I'm saying is, if Trump wins the election and there's a cyber attack or like a election interference, right? Remember, they did this last. You could say, oh, that's crazy. Why would you say that? But they did it last time. Remember in 2016, they said, Russia, they interfered in our election. Why wouldn't they do that again? They can easily play that card, right? Remember, it was Russia, the whole Mueller witch hunt, right? The FISA gate, the whole spying, they illegally spied on his campaign. They did all these things, right? And then he called it a witch hunt, right? So all I'm saying is, if the polls seem like they're close, they're really not close. Trump's winning by a lot, but they want you to believe that it's close, so that when the election happens, you know, and all of a sudden Trump is winning by a lot now, like, wait a minute, wait, the polls were tied, and all of a sudden he's winning by this much. What's going on? And then all of a sudden, boom, election interference, and the intelligence comes out, right? They have all the cameras rolling, and the director comes out with a suit and tie on and says, we just got confirmation that there was a cyber attack. They hit our elections. They hit them hard. And then the mainstream fake news says, oh, that's why Trump won. And then the lawsuits come out, and then they say, oh, we can't certify the election. We have to delay. That's going to cause the price to what? I don't care about what, all that. I'm just talking about how does that affect the price? And you can say, well, that's a crazy idea. We don't know if what you're saying is going to be true, so why even go down that road? Well, I believe it. I believe something like that is going to happen. Now, idea number one, they swap out Kamala. Idea number two, they throw in election interference, and they basically blow up the whole thing and say, oh, it was rigged, it was faked, right? Which would then open up the door for outside people to sort of do investigations on the election. The states are already saying they're doing that. The deep state is already signaling that they're going to delay the election. You don't believe me? Well, watch this. Listen to this. X22 Report used to be on YouTube. They had over 1 million subscribers. Very top-notch quality reporting, I think. Okay? And they banned him because he told the truth, right? So now he's on Rumble, and he's already got 750,000 subscribers. So this guy's the real deal. So here's a podcast, right? I'd listen to this over Joe Rogan any day. I love Joe Rogan, by the way. I'm not knocking him, but I just as regards to this, look at Deep State projects the election will be delayed by days. Too big to rig, right? So go to Rumble, watch that video, and listen to it. I'm not going to play it here. I can maybe play a clip. So here I speed the video up 1.5. Listen to this, just real quick. Listen.
The puppet masters, they are already projecting out there what they're going to do in the election. And it looks like they're following the same exact playbook back in 2020. We have different Secretary of States coming out, the news coming out saying there's going to be delays in the election. Georgia's saying, listen, we're going to have to wait a couple of days to get those overseas ballots in. Pennsylvania's doing the same exact thing. Wisconsin, you name it. They're all letting you know that the election is going to be delayed. And think about why they're doing all of this. Because once again, they're going to try to use the same exact tactics that they used back in 2020. This is not an election of their votes. Trump has the votes. He's getting more and more votes. As he gets more and more votes, guess what's happening to them? They are losing their votes. Yes, the polls need to stay in a place where you think it's pretty darn close, even though Trump is in the lead, but they need to make sure that you think that, oh, if she wins, it's okay, because, yeah, she might have been trailing by a little bit, but she won, so close. But they're also planning other tactics, and this is why they have Trump actually leading in the polls right now. Because what they're going to try to do is, yes, they're going to try to delay the election. Yes, they're going to make you think that it's very, very close, and Kamala, she might be winning, and Trump is not going to accept the results. But what's going to happen, I do believe this time around, is that they're not going to be able to make up the difference. They're not going to be able to make up the ballots that they need. And this is going to be a huge problem for them. Because, once again, this is why Trump said, number one, vote early. Number two, let's make it too big to rig. And he also put up a lot of roadblocks, which is making it very, very difficult for them to cheat. It doesn't mean they can't cheat. Of course they can cheat. But he wants to make it as difficult as possible and make it so difficult that they will not be able to create the ballots that they need. And once the votes are coming in and the votes are already there, they're going to realize this is going to be impossible. The numbers, first of all, won't even make sense. Number two, we would have to keep the election shut down for not just 3-4 days, many, many days, and people are going to get suspicious. And this is why I do believe they're out there letting everyone know that, and Eric Holder is out there, and We have Kamala's administration out there saying that the elections this time around are very, very secure. We have a head assistant out there telling everyone that the elections are very, very secure, just like back in 2020. Now, think about it. If the election is too big to rig and they can't create the ballots that they want, what are they going to have to do? They're going to have to let Trump win. And I believe what they're already planning to do is they're going to have some type of cyber attack where they can say that the elections were interfered and whatever country it is, was trying to help Trump, and that's what pushed him over the edge and allowed him to win. And of course, they're going to try to use this to stay in power, because once they begin this entire narrative, people are going to say, okay, well then who's the winner? What do we do next? Now think about what they just did, and think about what Trump and the Patriots have trapped them in. They just admitted that the elections aren't secure. Remember, they are telling us right now the elections are...
Okay, so that's just a little bit of a clip. I'll probably play a little bit more. I'm going to get into the price action. I'm going to talk about the small time frames. But I just kind of want you to get a little idea here of where I'm coming from. This is not just me saying this. This is a lot of other people. This guy, he's been spot on since I've been listening to him since 2018. And, you know, he has some pretty interesting ideas, and a lot of them play out brilliantly. Because, you know, it's all about the psychology of the situation and being able to be an outside observer and kind of putting yourself in the deep state shoes, putting yourself in Trump's shoes, because a lot of people can't really understand, you know, why he does certain things, and like, you know, like for example, like the vaccines and stuff, like people didn't understand that. So there's a lot of theories around all that, but keep listening. I'm going to explain it.
Are as secure as 2020. Eric Holder, who was vetting everyone for Kamala's campaign, is saying that Kamala's administration, the CISA, you name it, they're telling us these elections right now are secure as 2020. They're not going to tell you they're not secure, because that'd be kind of ridiculous, wouldn't it? Oh, by the way, we're vulnerable and something might happen. No, they have to say what happened back in 2020. We got the same thing going on right now. And we might see a delay in the election. You can see out in Pennsylvania, they're trying to make the excuse that, hey, we've got to take the ballots out of the envelopes. It's going to take a very, very long time. This is DEI talk, actually, if you really think about it. They can open the ballots, they can count them all in one night. It's absolutely ridiculous what they're saying, but there's a reason why they're saying it, because they know they're going to need time to make up the difference. So once this happens, it opens their entire narrative up to the people, and the people then start questioning, well, if this election is no longer secure, what about 2020? Because you're telling us it's as secure as 2020. And I do believe Trump most likely is going to trap him in all this. Now remember, yes, the deep state can do many, many different things. They have many, many different tactics. But you can see they're already letting us know that this is what they're going to try to do. They're already projecting out there that the election is going to be delayed, just like with the election in 2020. The election was delayed. Of course, they had to use other tactics. They had to use a water main break. They had to use other things. This way they could say this is why it was delayed. This time around, they're using the overseas ballots. They're using the excuse that the envelopes are very, very difficult to maneuver and we can't open them that fast. They're trying everything to explain why they're going to have to keep the elections shut down for quite a while. But I don't believe it's going to work this time around. I do believe the election is going to be too big to rig. They're not going to be able to make up the difference. And this is why they're going to have to move to their other method. And this is why they're building the narrative right now of saying that Trump is not going to accept the election results, because when he wins and they say the elections were interfered and this time around a foreign country assisted him in winning, and they truly don't know who the winner is, and he's going to say, well, no, I'm the winner, just like I was in 2016. Remember, in 2016, they said Russia was involved, but they never gave proof. This time around, I think they're going to go all out to show that the elections were manipulated. And this is going to fall right into what Trump wants them to do, because this is going to open up the conversation of the elections are not secure. They lied about it. And people are going to see this. Now, once again, what's the remedy for this? Where do we go from this point? And I do believe either, since the country was attacked, remember the election system is part of the national infrastructure, do we then go to a secure election, which is paper, this way nobody can manipulate it, and do we need the National Guard, the Marines, armed forces, do we need them to guard the elections, and do we need voter ID to make sure nobody is slipping by and trying to vote since we were just attacked by a foreign government? I do believe that this is where all this is headed. Now, this is going to be very, very interesting, and I do believe we're going to see certain things happen, most likely maybe a day before the elections, during the elections, because once they realize that they can't manipulate the elections and they don't have enough ballots to do it, they're going to have to change course. And I do believe this is why they're giving us this number of days, because what they're going to do, most likely, is they're going to say, okay, it's day number 2, and they're going to realize, holy crap, we need a lot more ballots. No way can we create this many. It's going to look too obvious. And during this period of time, they probably have a cyber attack saying, oh, the election system was just hit in the middle of the elections here on day 1 or day 2 or whatever. And it looks like whoever cyber attacked the election system, it helped Trump win. And now Trump is winning, Kamala isn't, and the elections now are manipulated.
There you go.
I do believe they're actually leading up to this. But I don't think in the end it's going to work the way they think it's going to work. I think Trump is going to show the American people, show everyone how they actually manipulate the elections, how the elections are insecure. I think we're coming full circle, and I think people now are going to see the proof, and they're going to see what the deep state has done and how they do it. And I think people are going to realize that they've been tricked the first time. I think a lot of people already realize that, and they're being tricked the second time around. Which means the deep state players are going to do what? Are they just going to fold and say, okay, we lost, that's it, we're going home? Or are they going to create chaos during this period of time to cover up what they just did? I think they're going to create chaos and make it seem like the Trump supporters are angry because, again, Trump was winning, foreign entity cyber attacked the election, and now we don't know who the winner is. Even though they're saying that the cyber attack helped Trump. And they're hoping that the Trump supporters get on the street, just like during January 6th, 2021. And they're going to have people dressed up as Trump supporters, and they're going to try to start the chaos. But again, I don't think this is going to work. I think this is going to fail, just like everything else. We're going to be talking a lot more about this a little bit later. But first, let's talk
There
about what's
you
happening.
go. There you go. Listen, I mean, whoa, right? I mean, if you did skip that part, definitely listen to that. It's like 5 minutes. I don't know. Listen to that. It makes you wonder what they're trying to do. And all I'm saying is, from a crypto perspective, from a price perspective, I'm on the hunt for black swans, right? So I don't want to be surprised and wake up one morning and the price is down 30%, right? And be like, oh, where'd that come from? No. I want to be ahead of that, right? You don't know when, you don't know where, you don't know if it's going to even happen. But the thing is, it's not unheard of to see something like that in regards to delaying the election. I mean, you can already see the writing on the wall when it comes to, these ballots coming from overseas. Like, first of all, why are ballots coming from overseas? Shouldn't ballots be printed and made in the United States? Like, what kind of odd thing is that to have another country print your presidential ballots? That doesn't make any sense, right? It makes me wonder if those ballots have some trickery or some odd ink in them, or who knows what they're trying to do. But at the end of the day, if this is going to cause chaos, right? Because that's what they're trying to do. They're trying to delay. They're trying to cause chaos. What does that mean for the price, right? So let's talk about that. So, anyways, let's go. And I don't think this is going to have a long-term effect on the price at all, right? It doesn't matter who wins as president. I think the overall direction for crypto is going to be higher, but in that middle of the storm, we might see some interesting things, and that's kind of what I want to prepare my audience for in case something like that occurs, right? Hopefully it doesn't. Hopefully everything I said is wrong, and we have a smooth election and everything is perfect. I would pray that happens. I hope that happens, right? But you got to keep your guard up. So when we look at the price, let's go back to Bitcoin real quick, okay? And the election is November 5th, I think, or November 4th, right around there. And we'll just put out, maybe a week. So we'll go right about there. So that's what? Yeah, about a week. Okay, so you have 7 days. That's when the real chaos comes, because it's like, remember what happened in 2020? Election night happened, right? Trump was winning, and then we woke up the next morning, and then all of a sudden Biden was winning. And then 2 days later, 3 days later, 4 days later, oh, we still don't have a winner, right? And then they finally said, oh, he won, right? Like after 4 days or something, right? So let's give ourselves 1 week of that horizon there. So now it's very difficult to gauge because we're still, it seems like we're pretty close, but we're really not so close. We still have approximately about 2 weeks left, right? So 2 weeks, a lot can happen in 2 weeks. So the first thing it would be the weekly chart, right? And to see where that weekly candle closes. Obviously, when we look at the weekly chart, it's a very bullish weekly candle, right? Last week's close, and this candle is also bullish. Look at the tail on the bottom of that candle, right? It's holding up nice and strong, right? Remember, when you have a big candle like this that breaks out, a lot of times this candle comes down and retests it 50%. So that could still happen, right? So, but what do I think is going to happen? Well, let's go back to the 4-hour chart. I'm going to give a few ideas here. So, idea number one, right? This is a 5-wave move, 1, 2, 3, 4, and then we go up for 5. So now if we have 5 waves up right before the election, that's going to tell me, whoa, because what comes after a 5-wave move? A 3-wave pullback. So we might have a pretty nasty correction during this time, right? And then once, maybe it takes a couple weeks. Once it's figured out, that's when the price starts going higher, right? Because people want things, the markets want, things to be normal. They don't want chaos, right? I mean, it's going to be interesting how crypto reacts, because here's the thing. Sometimes we have chaos, and crypto thrives in chaos. Remember the Cyprus banking problem? There's a few other problems. Now, if it's crypto related, right, it could cause problems. But if it's like something chaos when it revolving finances, I'm not sure about elections. Maybe crypto does well. We'll see. But that's kind of my primary idea, is us getting another wave to the upside, and then maybe a little bit of consolidation here, and then once that chaos happens, we get a bigger sort of correction to the downside, right? And then once it's figured out, that's when we start really heading to the upside. And what you have would be a 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, very, very bullish. Basically, when you have a nest, right? This is what I call a nest of 1, 2, 1, 2s, and that could really accelerate the price. Another thing that could happen is if this is already finished, 1, 2, right, 3, 4, 5, and then you get 3 down, you get 3 up, you get another 3 down, right? This could be a 1 and a 2, and then we start moving higher, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, right? And we start getting way up here, and that's when the election happens, right? Then you can get another big pullback. So then now you sort of have another 1, 2, 1, 2 setup, right? So let's go a little bit more zoomed out so we can kind of grasp this here. So again, if this is finished and we continue to head up and then we come back down, right? Because people don't know what to think. They don't know, like, well, maybe martial law, or I'm not saying that, but like maybe they're closing in on all of us, right? Because if they can delay it by a week, they can delay it by 2 weeks. And I think all of this is going to do is cause outrage. It's going to cause mass hysteria. They're going to, it's going to be interesting how it all plays out. But if you think this is wrong, and if you think, no, none of that's going to happen, I hope to God you're right, but I really doubt it. So anyways, now let's put all of that aside. Forget the election. Forget what could potentially happen. Let's just look at it objectively here, right? So what I'm seeing right now is we had a dump, and we have these dojis here. I want to see a retracement back to the upside, right? And then from there, this could be a 3-wave move, and then we can get a 1, 2, and then we continue into that 5th wave, right? So that's kind of what I would like to see. Another idea is if we get back up here and we get rejected, then we get a much bigger 3-wave, right? And then we continue higher, right? So that's pretty much it for Bitcoin, really. I mean, there's really a few different options. Now, talking bearish ideas for a moment, if we go all the way back down to the bull market support band, right? So, for example, we just do something like that. As long as we stay above that, I mean, we can have a monster three-way move and still be technically, bullish, because we're above the bull market support band. As long as we do that, I think we're doing just fine. But if we lose it, right, if we break below and we lose it and we start retesting it as resistance and we start coming down, that's when we start to say, okay, something else is happening here, right? So let's see what happens. Every 4 years, the October on the 4th year after the halving during the election, that's usually the most bullish time for crypto anyway, because they're trying to prop markets up. They're trying to make people feel good about themselves, their portfolios and whatnot, right? So we'll see how all that plays out. But a lot of times when you have kind of a nasty Q4, right? So if we start trending down, right, and continuing to trend down until next year, usually when you have a nasty Q4, the beginning of the next year is very, very bullish, right? I think an example would be, for example, look at this. Right in here, here's January, or here's November. Here's October, November, and December. Look at that. We had a big collapse. We had a pretty nasty Q4. And then once the start of the year happened, right, once we kicked off 2023, look what we did. We started pumping, right? So, but with all fairness, that was at the bottom of a bear market. Right now, we're at the top of this fourth wave here. So that's another thing as well. Also, we have the C19 fractal, right? In which case, what happened with C19 is we dropped and then we moonshot it, right? Remember what happened? Let me just go to the daily chart. Back over here, right? And I'll put this right there. So we were flagging out and then we dropped. I don't think that's going to happen because we went too fast to the upside. We didn't really establish any base. For example, this one, we established more support on the way up. So if we did get something like that, I don't think it would be very vicious. I think it would be fast and basically kind of like ripping the band-aid off, right? You get 3 down, you get 3 up, and then you get 5 down quickly and then go, right? So that's the bearish idea. The bullish idea is we stay up here, we flag out, and then we go. I mean, that's what it really comes down to. Those are the two ideas. If none of these ideas work, then we're going into another reaccumulation phase. And that's basically the end of the story right there, right? So real quick on the small time frames. Yeah, it's not really much here. I mean, you got some bullish divergence on the small time frames, right? And by the way, when I upload a video, I don't know why, but I title the video and then all of a sudden it says it's an untitled video, even though I titled it. And then when I go back to edit it, sometimes it doesn't let me. So interesting. But another thing is, right, we got the bullish divergence. Come on. Why is it doing that? There we go. Okay, we got the bullish divergence. We also have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 waves down, right? And then we have what appears to be 1, 2, maybe we get 3 up, something like that, back to the retracement levels before more downside. Or if this turns into a diag or something, we get a pullback and we can continue higher. But it's all going to be about what happens when we get to that area, right? If it's not finished, then that means obviously we have more downside to go. But so far we're still holding this area, right? The next support is down at 65K or so. So to me, it kind of looked like a little bit of a like a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, kind of like a diag here, right? And then usually what happens is after that you break down, you get an A, B, C, and you get back down in here. So that's kind of my main idea at the moment is getting back down to here and then continuing higher. And when we zoom out, what does that look like? Well, to me, that is 1, 2, right? All of this is 3, and then we get 4, and then we pop the high for number 5. And then we have a much bigger correction, right? And then who knows, again, during that election time, we might have a big drop back down to the bull market support band from 70K all the way down to 60K. We could have a $10,000 drop, amidst all that chaos. We'll see how it plays out. But that's pretty much what I have here. Again, we have the Fibonacci. We're looking at 62 for the 618. If we break higher, and let's say we get to, because I'm still looking at 70, 71K ultimately, then our 618 is above 64, which is good. We want the 618. We want this wave to be high so that when we do pull back, our retracement is higher than the bull market support band. We always want to be looking ahead according to that. So anyways, that'll do it for Bitcoin, XRP. Now I like some of these altcoins here. Look at this. We have this is exactly how it played out. This is exactly what we talked about, which is what? A 3-wave move, right? So we had A, B, C. That's 3 up, right? And then we have 3 down. What comes next? Well, maybe it's not finished. Maybe it has to come down a little bit more, maybe even a little bit more. Maybe it has to break this low. But once this 3-wave move is finished, I'm looking at 3 up or 5 up. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So the whole thing becomes A, B, C. And then what does that do? That gets us back into the retracement levels. And I'm still expecting a retracement for THETA, XRP, So that's what we want to see. We want to see a retracement. We want to get back above the bull market support band. We want to flag out. We want to test it, confirm it, and then we want to keep going. So that's pretty much it for XRP. That's what I'm thinking here. Obviously, this is a flat 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We have A, right? We have B, and it looks like C. Now C might not be finished. It might be sort of something like that before we go, right? So it could be a bigger flat. It depends if this wave is finished. But the way we're going to know is if this 3-wave move, it all is going to start with this 3-wave move. So far we have the 3-wave shape. But here's our resistance right here. So if we come back up and we get rejected here, and then we come down, we break the low, we come up, we get rejected again, that's going to tell me we're probably going down for another wave. And then once that wave is finished, right, once it's finished, then we can see more upside later. So that's pretty much it for XRP, CRV. I mean, it's really the same thing, but it's a little bit different because you have 3, and then you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So you have an ABC. So there's your 3 waves up. Maybe we come up and get 3 waves down, and then we get 5 up later. So ABC, right? It's looking a little bit oversold. I'd like to see a retracement here coming soon for CRV. Usually Wednesdays and Thursdays are the most bullish days of the week. If not, they're the most bearish days of the week. But since we've been going down basically this whole time, I would imagine, I mean, you can see the dojis there. Let's see if we have a 9. Oh, look at that, guys. We have a perfected 9. You can say, who cares about CRV? I don't own it. But here's the thing. It doesn't matter, right? I mean, you could be holding whatever coin, and if another altcoin has a 9, it's basically, in consensus with the rest because they're all correlated to some extent, right? So this is a beautiful 9. Let's see. Let's look at the RSI, and the RSI is okay. RSI is okay. We do have hidden bull. You can see here, we're going up, we're going down, right? So yeah, I want to see a bounce here for CRV. Let's see if we can get it, because at the end of the day, you know, it looks like a nice three-way move. We have 5 up and we have 3 down. I mean, this is the only chart that I'm seeing that has such a nice setup. Now, the way it becomes invalidated, if we break this to the downside, it's still going to be valid because I'm going to look at it more as a WXY, right? So boom, boom, 3 down, right? And then we go higher. Something like that, right? WXYXZ, or even that, right? So you have a flag and now you're bull flagging, and eventually you're going to break out. And that's what I feel. That's my belief, not financial advice. I could be wrong. So always know that. So let's take that off the screen. Actually, let's go to THETA now. So THETA's looking good, kinda. I mean, it's sort of consolidating, right, at this mid-range. You see this whole wave right here? You cut it in half, and that's exactly where we're at. We're sort of in the middle of this wave, and we're kind of consolidating in here, right? So either we're going to break out or we're going to break down, or we're going to break the top and then come down, then go up. So what do I think is going to happen? Well, I think this is part of a bigger ABC here. So for example, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then we have a 3-way pullback, and then maybe we get 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then this whole thing becomes a bigger ABC, and then we go higher, right? So when we zoom out, you know, we have something like this, right? And then let's put that right there. And then we have their completed Wyckoff structure. We break out, we consolidate, we continue higher, we get back to the retracement levels. I mean, that's really the main idea. The other idea is if this comes down and we break this to the downside, you know, again, election chaos, maybe a liquidation event, then guess what I'm going to expect? The same thing. It's just at a different point, right? So those are really the two ideas. Both of them say we need to come back up here. So that's good. That's good to know. As far as the price action right now, I mean, it's a little bit stagnant. It's kind of like, you know, it can go either way, but I'm kind of leaning towards the downside. Maybe we pop the high a little bit, but I'm kind of looking at it as more of a 3-way move, right? Now, if it's not, you know, if we start, you know, if we go sideways longer and then we start breaking out, well, then we're going to establish a base in here, right? It's not going to be such, you know, so corrective, right? It's going to be more base building, and then we'll look at higher prices later on. So let's turn on the sequential. Do we have a 9 on? No, we don't. But look at that, guys! In 9 minutes, by the time you watch this video, we're gonna have a 9. Okay, so we're on an 8. We got the dojis, right? This is, for me, this is dollar cost averaging. For me, where we are right now, this is buying the dip. Well, you say, well, you said we were going to go lower. Well, the thing is we're averaging in, right? So anytime you have a big wave to the downside that's lasted a few days, that really hasn't had pullbacks, and you land on a 9, and you're in a range, that's a good spot to add to your position, right? Not financial advice, but for me, that's a good spot. Because, you know, once we're down here, we expect a retrace. That retrace could break us out, or it could lead back down to the downside. But at the end of the day, you know, you just have to wait and see. But yeah, I think these are good prices at the moment. $1.30, you're going to look back 6 months from now and say, man, I wish, you know, $1.30 was a sweet deal here. So You can also say that this is kind of like an ascending triangle, if you will. Now, if that's the case, I don't think we've ever talked about this. We're kind of coiling up. We hit the upside, hit the downside, we break out, and then go back to this level, and then probably flag out in here, back down to this level, and then really rip it to the upside. I really like that idea, but if not, then this is going to break to the downside, and then it's the same thing except from a lower price. So we'll see. So with THETA, I mean, it kind of looks like it needs to do this, in my opinion. Hopefully we don't, but you know, if we can hold right in here, right, and if we can flag out, I would like to see that. Somebody asked about Axelar. I'll take a look at it in just a second. We have a three-wave move off of Axelar, or THETA, right? So far, it's a three-wave move to the downside, three-wave there. Maybe we have one more low. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Three-wave pullback. I mean, maybe we can get some higher prices when we look at it from that perspective. Because it still looks actually it looks very bullish, to be quite honest, because doesn't mean today or tomorrow or even next week, but over time, right? Again, we're sort of cupping into the resistance, cupping into the resistance, cupping into the resistance, but now we're kind of flagging out. That's what we like. So, okay, so this is a good observation here. Look, we cup into the resistance, we dump. Cup, dump. Cup, dump. Cup, but now we're not dumping anymore. We're flagging out. Instead of hitting this area and dumping, we're hitting the area and we're flagging out. That tells me we could probably see maybe a good breakout pretty soon, right? Maybe a cup and a handle, and let's go. I mean, I really like it a lot. So we'll see how that plays out. When we go to the daily chart, it's going to be two things. Number one, we flag out, we get up to the retracement level. Or we have an ABC, and then we get to the retracement level. Or this is going to break to the downside in a black swan, or maybe even a fifth wave. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You can even say, I don't think so. I think the fifth wave is in. But if it does, guess what? I'm still expecting a retracement. So it doesn't matter what really happens in here. The overall objective is getting back up there, right? Okay, so let's look at Axelar. So I wouldn't really want to buy Axelar right now. I told you guys, I'm mad at myself. I bought it. My order didn't get filled. And then the next morning, we were up like 20%. I was like, OMG, that could have really paid the bills for a little while. Man, tough one. But we did break this, and we are holding above. So we don't even have any bearish divergence really on the daily. So, I mean, this could be setting up for a big bullish move, but from an entry perspective, I have a hard time getting in, right? Because there's just not really an entry for me at the moment. But it does look very bullish, I won't lie. I mean, you can see we had this big roundabout, right? And here's another thing, right? When we put up THETA and Axelar side by side, you know, THETA is like right here, right? We have a big cup, you have a three-way pullback, you break out, and now you're kind of consolidating. So maybe this is going to push higher before you start flagging out in here, right? So it could be a good opportunity for some people. I mean, if I can try to get in, I would. It just, you know, it's just not, there's no entry for me at the moment. So let me go back to, or actually, Let me hit plus. Let me hit THETA USD. Okay. Yeah, so you can see it right here. So here's THETA, right? You cup into the resistance, cup into the resistance. You have a three-way pullback, right? And then you break out, you flag out. And you basically are retracing, and now you're flagging out. So to me, it looks like the better opportunity kind of sort of would be TIA, but you know, since it's already broken out of Axelar, we might not have so much resistance coming up, right? Because since we already broke this huge range in here, right? But if Axelar did it, I'm sure TIA can do it as well. So Axelar is just kind of leading the way a little bit. I mean, one coin like Filecoin, to me it looks like maybe a diagonal 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then you get an A, B, C, and then go. So kind of like 3 up, 3 down, go, right? So some of them are downside, some of them look like they're a little bit more prone to the upside. One coin that scares the hell out of me is Matic. I mean, that looks so bearish, it's like unbelievable. Like, it looks like a gnarly descending triangle, right? And you're just kind of boiling and boiling and boiling. It looks like it's going to have an epic crash, to be quite honest. I don't know why. None of the other charts kind of look like that. I'm not sure what's going on with Matic, but I'm not in it. I mean, we could be bottoming out in here. Bottom, right? But, man, it's got to have to prove it to me here with a 5-wave impulse, because it just looks horrible. I mean, it looks like, you know, I don't know. It just does not look right to me at all. It looks very bearish. But what looks bullish is this 3-wave pullback. Look how, you know, you have a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You have a big 3-wave pullback. You're right down here at support. So that's one thing it has going for it. But other than that, you know, it looks like it's going to drop and then come back up. So we'll see. XRP versus Bitcoin continues to dump. I mean, to me now, you know, we had 3 down, we had 3 up. It looks like 1, 2, 3, maybe we get 4 and 5. So it looks like it's going to be an extended. I mean, we're down here at support, which is kind of cool. So we'll see if we can come back up to this area. One thing that kind of looks bearish to me is total 3, which is all of the altcoins. You can see it right there. I mean, the only thing that's bearish, I mean, it really looks bullish in this way when you have like this ascending triangle. So you can see the ascending triangle. That looks good, right? So, but to me, the problem is this wave right here. It looks very corrective. Like it looks like it needs to do this. A, B, C. If we can get that and then come back down to this area and then get 5 off the low with a 3-way pullback and then flag out, that's going to be a nice buying opportunity to go to the upside. Now, it might not do that, right? It could be, because let's look at the sequential here. We didn't get to a 9, which is good. We did get back to the swing high. Let's look at some deeper wave structure here. Yeah, all I have here is a 3-wave move. So impulse, 3-wave move. So it sort of needs to correct to me, right? That's what it seems like it needs to do. If we can correct and kind of go sideways into reaccumulation, then go higher, I mean, that'll look pretty good. If this thing breaks out, I mean, the only way it's going to change my mind is if we just get a big impulse to the upside. Right? If we could do that, that'll look really good. But anyways, that'll do it for this video. I appreciate everybody for tuning in. I mean, when you look at Dogecoin, it kind of looks like it needs a little bit of a pullback. You're right here at resistance. So maybe we got to flag out a little bit. We'll see. But anyways, I will catch you guys on the next one. Cheers.